TCU Horned Frogs are getting ready to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. It's Big Monday. It's ESPN. The crowd is going to be loud and rowdy. The students are already running in to the stadium to try and find a good seat. It's a whiteout here. Everybody's hyped in Fort Worth, Texas for this matchup. Jamie Plunkett here alongside Bingo Merricks. We're ready to get you ready for the Horned Frogs and the Jayhawks to tip off in just about an hour on ESPN. Bingo, the last time out, TCU 83, Kansas 60 in Allen Fieldhouse. But a lot's changed since that game on January 21st. TCU beat Oklahoma, and then they lost 5 out of 6 as Mike Miles went down with that knee injury. Meanwhile, Kansas, they've won 6 out of their last 8. They're looking a lot more like the defending national champs than they have at any other point this season. But the good news for TCU is that Mike Miles Jr. is back. He came back on Saturday. He dropped 15 in a 100-75 win over Oklahoma State in an impressive and much-needed win for this Horned Frogs team. Bingo, it's going to be an electric atmosphere tonight. The students are going to be here. The fans are going to be here. As a player, how do you block out all that noise and focus on the task at hand?
I think, like you said, it's going to be electrifying out there. And I think as a player, you love this atmosphere, and the guys are going to be pumped up. I think for me, it's games like this when we played, I think Fresno State was number 21 coming into TCU. That was the biggest team I played. And it's just, you do this a lot of times. You think about this in your backyard or front yard when you're playing basketball out there, and you just do it. It's like riding a bicycle. And I think a lot of these guys are going to be pumped up for the game. Number 3, Kansas coming in, and you have no choice but to be electrifying and be ready to play.
Absolutely. You know they're going to be amped up for this one. They want to sweep Kansas. I got a fun stat for you in the next segment about sweeping Kansas in the regular season. But before we get to that, I do want to take a second and look back on Saturday's win because it was Mike's first game back. Eddie was back in the starting lineup as well for TCU, and they came out from the jump and looked ready to play more so than they had in the last 3 weeks. I know that Mike's an impressive scorer, but beyond just scoring the basketball, what makes Mike Miles so influential for this basketball team?
What a difference a Mike's makes. I'm telling you, like when Mike comes to play, it's just like his presence. He demands double teams. Eddie Lampkin Jr., he's also just an energy guy as well. We was missing that as TCU on the floor, and a lot of times when they're not on the floor, that energy is not as present as when they're on the floor. And with Mike, he's one of the best top guards in the country. So having him back on the floor and having his presence makes a big difference for the Frogs.
It really, truly does. And you saw that on Saturday from the first tip. Eddie won the tip and then was hyping up the student section as he ran down the court. Then he hit that little step-back jumper from the free throw line. Everybody was going crazy. You know, there have been really unique student-athlete student section relationships in TCU athletics history, but it feels like Eddie and the students are on a different level. Why do you think that is?
Well, Eddie, he's a big kid, and he's definitely personable. You'll see him around campus. He talks to people. He doesn't act bigger than the game, and I think the students can relate to that, and they love that. So when they see him off the court, he's the same guy off the court as he is on the court, and I think the students can relate to that a lot. And they want to come out and see Big Four play a lot of times.
They do. They do want to see Big Four play. I think it helps, too, with the fact that Eddie's in the student section at football games. He's in the student section at soccer games and at baseball games. He's out and he's in the crowd, and so they get to know him there. And then when he steps onto the court, they're like, oh, that's my friend. That's not just another guy who's playing basketball. That's a guy that they know and they love and they have that relationship with.
Definitely, for sure. And with Eddie, like I say, he's a respectable young man, and he's a funny guy as well, too. Humor goes a long way with a lot of people. So with that as well, like you say, you get to know him personally, and you can say that that's my friend out there playing basketball.
Absolutely. And isn't that a fun joy to have as a student here at TCU, to have that kind of relationship with the student athletes that are giving their everything for the university, to be able to give a little bit as well from the student section. It's really cool. Obviously, with Mike back and Eddie back, that's a huge addition of energy and athleticism and scoring for the Horned Frogs. But let's not ignore the other Horned Frogs that have been out there grinding for the last 3 weeks without those guys. I want to start with Damian Baugh. The guy has had 3 points and assists, double-doubles so far this year. He almost had a triple-double in TCU's close loss to Baylor last weekend. What have you seen from him this season as far as elevating his game to that next level?
I think with Damian Baugh, for sure, his decision-making. With Mike Miles Jr. going out, Damian has had to be more of a floor general and take on a lot of bulk of that. So with his assists going up, with him directing traffic more on the offensive end and defensive end, I've really loved to see how he has been able to command the team's respect and run the team with Mike Miles Jr. being out.
He's averaging almost 5 assists per game. He's got 50 assists in his last 6 games. That's impressive.
Very impressive, definitely. And like I said, with Mike Miles Jr. being back, it makes his job that much more easier, and I think he can relax more in the sense to where Mike Miles Jr. can take some of that load as far as being a floor general, and he can get a little bit more rest and be stronger down the stretch.
He can absolutely do that. And, I talked with Brandon Parrish on last week's postgame show about how, the kind of the silver lining to some of these injuries. And some of these depth guys have had more minutes. They've seen roles expanded, and that gives them some experience and some understanding of the game that's gonna help TCU out in the long run. Specifically, thinking about Shahade Wells. The last time the Frogs and Jayhawks played was his coming out party. He scored 17 points in that game up in Allen Fieldhouse. He had a powerful dunk, put a kid on a poster, right? And ever since then, it seems like he's been playing at a higher level for this team. Now that he's kind of back in that reserve role, that's a huge boon for TCU off the bench, don't you think?
I definitely think so. I think with Shahade Wells, he's been playing great all season. With Mike Miles being out, he stepped up into a role, and he's played some significant minutes throughout the whole season. And like you say, he put a guy on a poster at Allen Fieldhouse for sure. And I think it's going to help Shahade when postseason comes around, because coming off that bench, he could be that surge of power that the Horned Frogs need as a 6th man coming off the bench.
He absolutely can be. I think that the TCU team has shown that when they are healthy, they are hard to beat, and they're going to be hard to beat tonight again against this number 3 Kansas Jayhawks team that is the defending national champ. They're coming in having won 6 out of their last 8 on a 4-game winning streak. But we know one thing about TCU. We know that when the student section is rocking, when everybody's here in Schollmaier getting loud, the Frogs are going to bring the energy. So we sent our guy Tristan Smith out to talk to some of those students while he was out and about today. He's going to get there and talk to them in just a moment. But for now, he is courtside, ready to talk a little bit more about Horned Frogs basketball. Tristan, take it away, my man.
What's going on, Frog fans? We are courtside right now in Schollmaier Arena getting ready for this game. The students have already filled up the student section. They've got their white shirts on, and they're ready to cheer their hearts out tonight. It's the TCU Horned Frogs coming in at number 24, facing the number 3 Kansas Jayhawks. Now let's talk about KU in this last game versus TCU. TCU handed the Jayhawks their worst home loss in just 2 years. 83-60 loss for them. The top scorer in that game was Jalen Wilson for the Jayhawks, who played 30 points, which is, yes, half of their total score in that game. Talking about some other contributors for the Jayhawks, of course, Grady Dick only had 8 points in that last matchup in January. He averages over 14 points a game, so he knows he can do better. He'll be looking to do better in this game. Another man, KJ Adams, was caught in foul trouble early during that game, so he'll be looking to do more and making more of a contribution with more minutes in this game. Now, for the Horned Frogs, the biggest key for this game, because it worked for them in the last matchup of the Jayhawks and has really worked for them all season, is going to be fast break points. Seizing quick opportunities, taking it down the court, and getting quick points. If you can tire the Jayhawks out early, that's going to be the quickest way to a W. That's all I have. Jamie, back to you.
Welcome back into the Frogs Today pregame show. Thanks, Tristan, for that courtside report. Really do appreciate it. As Tristan was talking about, the last time these two teams met, TCU won by 23 points. That hasn't been done before, really, at Allen Fieldhouse to win that impressively against Kansas in that environment. Do you think that gives the Jayhawks any extra motivation coming back to TCU to kind of do the same thing the Frogs did to them up in Kansas?
Kansas Jayhawks, they've been playing some great basketball. I want to say that loss against TCU, I think it ignited them a little bit to kind of, get their wheels turning a little bit. So definitely Kansas is going to look to get some little get back against TCU for sure.
Well, I think that anytime you have a team like Kansas and they're clicking like they are, and now they got a little bit of extra motivation, they're going to be pretty tough to beat. But we're going to take a quick break here on the Frogs Today pregame show, and when we come back, Bingo's going to give us the scouting report on the Kansas Jayhawks.
At Higginbotham, we put people first. So we simply start by listening to you. Whether you're searching for customized insurance, HR, or financial solutions to protect your home, car, health, business, or employees, our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Higginbotham, insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
Simply the best barbecue in Fort Worth. Dine in, catering, or drive-through. 2900 Montgomery, just off I-30. Remember, the best barbecue in Fort Worth is at Railhead Smokehouse.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPI Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
Welcome back into the Frogs Today pregame show. Jamie Plunkett here alongside Bingo Merrick's former Frog, famous Frog, great co-host of this show. Thank you so much for being back here today. I've missed you the last few weeks, man.
I'm happy to be back. I missed you too, my buddy. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the rankings came out today, the new AP poll. TCU dropped 2 more spots down to 24. It's kind of been a slow slide over these last 3 weeks for the Horned Frogs, but on the opposite side, Kansas is back into the top 3. They're at number 3. Joe Lunardi has them projected to be the 4th number 1 seed going into the tournament right now. That's that, like I said in the first segment, they look more like the defending champs than they have at any point in this season, and that has a lot to do with Jalen Wilson.
For sure. You know, around this time, teams want to start getting ready for post play, and Kansas is doing just that. I think it has a lot to do with Coach Self as well, too, because he demands excellence from his team. And with Jalen Wilson, he's been playing great all season, averaging 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, the leading scorer for the Big 12 and the leading rebounder. He's going to take on a lot of the scoring and the rebounders today, so look for him to have a great game.
He's going to put up shots, like you said. He's going to get his. It's really more about preventing the other players on the Jayhawks from getting going. I know that Grady Dick has been a huge part of this team's success, and that KJ Adams has been a huge part of this team's success as well. What can you tell me about those 2 guys?
With Grady Dick, he is the freshman sensation. He's having a great year. I think he's been having a breakout season coming into Kansas. He's averaging 15 points a game, and he's shooting 41% from the three-point line, which is great for a freshman, great for any player.
Right.
And so his last 2 games, he had 16 points against Oklahoma State. Then he also had 26 points as well. So he had a career high, and he's doing really well. And I think he's going to definitely come out and make a difference tonight against the Frogs.
He struggled in that first game against TCU. I think KJ Adams also got into a little bit of foul trouble there as well. So they didn't have the games they probably wanted to have against the Horned Frogs. What does TCU need to do to keep those role players from breaking free tonight?
With KJ Adams, he's definitely an energy guy. So TCU needs to keep him off the glass. He's very athletic. How he gets going, he gets the offensive rebound, put back dunks, alley-oop dunks. TCU needs to keep a body on him and keep him down early and don't let him get going because he's an energy guy, just like Eddie Lampkin. So if he gets his energy going, he definitely helps Kansas out as well.
You know, I think that was a really key matchup the first time these 2 teams met. We saw Eddie. He was able to kind of take some of the life out of that building. He was able to kind of hold KJ Adams down. Obviously, he went down with that ankle injury late in that first half, and then Xavier Court came in and pretty much did the exact same thing. He was huge in that game up in Lawrence earlier this year, and I think it's going to take both of those guys to really have good games tonight to be able to repeat that result again.
That's the good thing about the Frogs. We have Eddie Lampkin Jr. We also have Xavier Court, who can take turns and give each other a breather a little bit, as opposed with Kansas. KJ Adams is really their only big man that they really have with experience that they can use to play.
Exactly. And, you know, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Jacoby Coles, too, because with Eddie out with that ankle injury, he's had to bear a lot of the responsibility at the 5 as well. And that's not something that he's necessarily comfortable doing, but he's done it pretty well.
He's done a really good job, and I think that's going to help the Frogs down the stretch if Coach Dixon wants to go small ball and use Jacoby Coles at the 5 position, because that's what a lot of teams are doing a lot of times. They're playing their 6'7", 6'6" guys at the 5 position so they can run out more.
Exactly, and that transition game is so critical to Kansas's game this year. It's also so critical to TCU's. They're leading the country in transition baskets. Still, even after Mike Miles' 30-week absence, they're averaging 20 points a game on the fast break. They're going to need to be able to do that again tonight. All right, so I said I got a fun fact for you.
Okay.
I was talking to Kansas's play-by-play guy before the show started. His name's Brian Haney. He's a great guy. And he told me this fact. Kansas in the Bill Self era has only been swept by a conference teammate twice.
Wow.
And it was Texas under Shaka Smart and Oklahoma State a couple years ago under Mike Point. TCU has the chance to become the third team to sweep Kansas in the regular season tonight. In your estimation, what do they have to do to make that happen?
Energy. It starts with energy. They're going to have to come and feed off this electrifying, sold-out crowd, hopefully, and they're going to have to come out and jump on Kansas early and let them know, not in my house.
Not in my house. Hey, the Frogs have been great at protecting Schollmaier so far this year. They only have one home conference loss, or I guess two now with the Baylor loss. But, hey, they've got a winning record at home. They want to keep that thing rolling. And, again, the crowd is going to be electric tonight. The students are already here in full force. And our boy Tristan Smith was out there earlier to catch up with some of those students to see how they felt about the game. Tristan, take it away.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU, both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
At Higginbotham, we put people first. So we simply start by listening to you. Whether you're searching for customized insurance, HR, or financial solutions to protect your home, car, health, business, or employees, our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Higginbotham. Insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
All right, we're back here on the Frogs Today pregame show. Jamie Plunkett alongside Bingo Merrick's getting you ready for the Horned Frogs and the Kansas Jayhawks to tip off. That happens at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Fran Francilla's in the house. They got the big broadcasters here for this one. That's how much this game means, doesn't it, Bingo?
Definitely. They brought the big boys down for this game here. Big Monday, so I'm excited to see this game go down.
Look, it's going to be such a fun game. TCU finally broke their losing streak on Saturday against Oklahoma State. Kansas is on a 4-game winning streak as well. And when you think about the kind of the path of this season, TCU picked 4th in the Big Conference, or the Big 12 before the conference play started. Kansas picked number 1 as defending national champs. And then all of this stuff happened. Kansas was losing 3 in a row. TCU was winning a bunch of games. And then roles have kind of reversed lately. And you go back and you look at the Big 12 standings, and it's almost like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Kansas is sitting there at number 1. Texas and Baylor are right behind them. And TCU's fighting it out in the middle of the pack with Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and a couple of these other schools. What does that say about the depth of the conference and just the conference overall?
The Big 12 is the best conference out as far as in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
And you can see that any given night, any team can be beaten. And we've seen that with a lot of the standings. And I think TCU, if healthy, can be definitely one of the top 5 teams. And like we said earlier in the segment, the team TCU, we're getting back healthy. We're getting healthy at the right time.
Yeah.
So now it's ready to take off for postseason.
It really is. You know, we were talking about quad 1 wins before the show started. Every single Big 12 team has at least 3 quad 1 wins already this season. Kansas, obviously, most in the nation with 13, I believe you said.
13-5, Kansas overall with quad 1 wins, and that says a lot about their strength of schedule and just how great of basketball they're playing this season.
And just about the strength of the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is the only conference where every single team has at least one quad 1 win. No other conference can say that. And you talk about net rankings too, which is another way that the committees start to figure out what teams are going to make it into the tournament versus not. The Big 12's average net ranking is 27. The next conference is the SEC. Guess you know what their ranking is?
I really don't.
Average 57.
57.
So you're talking about a 30-point ranking difference
right.
in that average. That's how competitive and how strong the Big 12 has been this year. All right. As we kind of wrap up the show here, though, I do want to throw it out to Tristan. I think we finally got that video rocking and rolling. Tristan was out there earlier talking to some students about how they felt about tonight's matchup. Tristan, take it away.
How's it going, Frog fans? Well, tonight is Big Monday. The Kansas Jayhawks come in here to face the TCU Horned Frogs, and students are already lined up outside Schollmaier Arena, ready to get inside, get their hands on a T-shirt, and get ready to yell for this big game. Let's hear how the students are feeling going into this big night, Big Monday matchup. All right, gentlemen, how many points do you think Mike Miles is going to score tonight on the Jayhawks?
Oh, he's going for 30 at least.
100%, at least 30. Agreed.
Yeah, 45.
I think we really got to worry about Doumbia, though. Like, he's going for 30, probably.
All right, who do you think is going to be our lead scorer tonight in the game?
You know, with Miles coming back for this last game, I think he's going to take it this game as well.
All right, what are you most looking forward to about the game tonight?
Just beating Kansas. I mean, that state should probably be deleted.
Which TCU player do you think is going to dominate on both sides of the ball tonight?
I'm going to go with Mike Miles.
Mike Miles?
Yeah.
It's got to be Mike.
Yeah, definitely Mike Miles today.
That's all from out here. Jamie, back to you.
Thank you, Tristan. Appreciate all you do for us over here at Frogs today. Bingo, as we kind of wrap things up here on the pregame show, give me your final thoughts on what TCU needs to do to come away with the victory tonight.
TCU definitely needs to stick to the program. I know Coach Dixon, Coach Benford had this scout, and he does a great job in breaking down details. And if they stick to the game plan, I know for sure they'll be in the game at the end or maybe even be up. Jalen Wilson's going to come out. He's going to take a lot of shots, but they have to keep the others down if they want to have a chance to beat number 3 Kansas tonight.
I totally agree with you. You know, when we were doing the pregame show for football every year, or for every game this year, Marshall Newhouse was on that show with us, and he said something almost every single week that I thought was really important. In big moments, let the big dogs eat. Mike Miles has to have a big game tonight. Eddie Lampkin has to have a big game tonight. Emmanuel Miller and Damian Ball have to show up tonight. And if those guys come out and do what we know they're capable of doing, they protect the ball, they rebound hard, they get baskets at the rim, TCU's going to be all right. They might not win, but they're going to be all right. They're going to be in it at the end to have a chance. And really, that's all you can ask for against a team of Kansas's caliber.
Right.
Don't make mistakes. Don't beat yourself, and go out there and play your game.
These type of games here, JP, like you said, the big dogs have to step up. It's going to be the others for sure. They're going to have to come, make minimal to no mistakes, and who makes the less mistakes down the stretch is who's going to be in the game at the end.
This is where that experience that some of these depth guys have built up over the last few weeks is going to really come into play. I know we're laughing about this light over here, keeping flashing in our faces, but all right, everything's fine. Everything is fine. All right, before we get out of here, though, I got to let you folks know, if you're watching this on the Frogs Today YouTube channel, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Make sure you've liked this video. Leave us a comment down below. Actually, tell us your score prediction. Let us know what you think is going to happen tonight when the Horned Frogs and the Jayhawks take off. And make sure you make your way over to frogstoday.com. Subscribe there. You're not going to get content better anywhere else about TCU basketball, TCU football, TCU baseball, and every other sport the Frogs have to offer. So make sure you're subscribed at frogstoday.com. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel as well. Bingo, as we close things out here, though, give me your score prediction. Who wins tonight?
I have TCU pulling this win out 75-67.
All right. I like it. An 8-point victory for the Horned Frogs at home. You know, I think with the addition of Mike Miles back into this lineup, we saw last Saturday how much more capable they are of scoring on a consistent basis. And so I would really like to see this game get into the 80s for TCU. I think if they can do that, they've done some things right tonight. So give me TCU 84, Kansas 75 in a barn burner of a basketball game that results in the students jumping over those railings and running onto the court to celebrate with Eddie and the rest of the guys.
I just want to add, you remember last game that we was here together against Oklahoma? I was maybe 1 point off.
You were 1 point off. Hey,
definitely.
I'll take 75 to 67. I'll take it. We all would, I think, at this point. But for Bingo, for the rest of the Frogs Today crew, I'm Jamie Plunkett. Thank you so much for hanging with us for the Frogs Today pregame show. You can find us right back here again in a couple of hours for the Frogs Today postgame show. Bingo and I will be breaking down the action. But for now, let's go over and get ready for the Horned Frogs to take on the Kansas Jayhawks at 8 p.m. on ESPN.